Hi everyone, I'm Sandy and I'm back today with my 1001 book countdown. If you are not familiar with this 1001 book countdown concept, as always, I will leave a card up here for you so you can go out and take a look. And there's a playlist linked at the end that you are more than welcome to binge watch all of the past books that have been discussed as part of the countdown. I would love that because, of course, it would give me lots of viewing hours. But if you haven't already and you are enjoying this concept, please go ahead and give a comment, like, and subscribe. I'm enjoying this concept so much, and I really appreciate all of the interaction in the comments. So if you're someone who's watching and have never commented but wanted to, please go ahead. I absolutely enjoy all of that interaction and really appreciate all of the support that I've received from the BookTube community or the YouTube community. So please consider giving me a subscribe and a thumbs up, and hopefully you'll continue on this journey with me. But for today, we're going to go ahead and put up our numbers, which are 284 somewhere and 28, which is of course the 2021 number. And for today, we're just going to go ahead and jump right in with the one book I have. Sorry, spoiler. I only have one book to talk about, but I'm pretty sure I'll be forgiven because this book is a chunker of a book. If you've watched my videos earlier this week, you will know that I've had a little bit of a JFK, Marilyn Monroe theme this week, and you'll already know the book that I'm going to talk about or hold up, which is Blonde. That's the wrong way. We'll turn it the right way, which is Blonde by Joyce Carol Oates. So this book was originally published in 1999, and this version is the 20th anniversary edition, which was published in 2020. I had never heard of this book before, so I was excited to pick it up. I had it also as a Pulitzer, and when I went back today and looked, it was actually a finalist according to Pulitzer.org in 2001. So that's why I had it on my Pulitzer list, even though it is not a Pulitzer winner. This is, if you're not familiar with this book, it is a fictional reimagining of Marilyn Monroe. It is not a biography. It has some aspects in it that are very much based on her real life, but there is a lot in this that is left up to the imagination of the author. The story is largely told from Marilyn's perspective or from Norma Jean Baker's perspective, and it goes through her entire life from the point that she was, it starts with her as a young child and goes through all the way up to her death in 1962. The story is not a romanticized version of Marilyn Monroe. I think that's so much of what everyone thinks when they think of this particular person, and this is not that. It is not a fairy tale Hollywood romantic story. It is dark, it is gritty, it is dirty. There are a lot of sections in this book that are disturbing, and it gives you a perspective of Marilyn Monroe that is deeply, deeply troubled and has a lot of problems. So I'm going to start kind of in the beginning and go through pieces of it and identify sections that might or might not have been based on real life. As you can see, because it is 700 pages, obviously I can't go through every section, but I'm going to talk about a few of the ones that really struck me as kind of important ones. So in the beginning, you start with Marilyn as a young child. At this point, she's still called Norma Jean. She's living with her grandmother because her mother is somewhat disturbed and cannot take care of her. And there even is a reference in here to her mother kind of stealing her away without the permission of the grandmother and taking her on a trip. And you really get that from the child's perspective. It's the first time also that you get the perspective that she doesn't know who her father is. And the mother infers that it is someone in Hollywood and that this dark prince or this prince will come for her someday. And so Marilyn is experiencing kind of this chaotic mental illness type of thing that her mother has, which From what I can determine, her mother actually was in a mental institution at one point. I don't know much more than that about her actual history, but the book implies that it was a pretty serious illness. So Marilyn lives with her grandmother until her grandmother passes away, in which time she does go live with her mother for a period of time, and that is a very dark and troubling time in this character's life in the book. And what happens in that one is ultimately her mother takes her, there's a big fire in the area that they live, and her mother is out trying to drive around to find her father and get help from him. And at that point forward, her mother is not able to take care of her anymore. And Marilyn goes into foster care, goes into a group home, and then foster care. And in the book, she's desperate to be adopted. She wants to be part of a bigger family. She sees these families that she could be a part of, and her mother just keeps saying no and will not give up her rights. I don't know how much of that is true, but it is a very poignant part in the book because she just wants to be accepted. She just wants to be part of a family, and she's constantly prevented in the book from being that. So it goes on to where she's in a foster care, and in that household, she is seen as having a lot of boyfriends and troubling kind of relationships with teachers and with police officers, a wide variety of different dates that she has. And in the foster home, the foster mother is concerned that the foster father is looking at her just a bit too much. She's around 14, 15 in the book at this time. And the foster mother basically tells her, you need to get married. It's time to get married at 15. And Norma Jean never finishes school. She gets married to a character whose name is Bucky Glazer. And in real life, she married someone who was named James Doherty. I don't know if she was 15 when she got married. I didn't look up that particular detail. So correlations in the book to her actual life. Bucky Glazer in the book ends up going away in the military, and their relationship does not last for him even for when he comes back. And while he's gone, Marilyn is forced to work. She's working in a factory where she is discovered by a photographer during the women can do it kind of time of World War II. And she is discovered by this photographer, and her career just starts to take off really from that point forward. And her marriage is sacrificed as part of kind of that fame while he's gone away. One aspect of their marriage that is very, very clear is that Oates paints a picture that Marilyn Monroe has some pretty big father issues in this, and the lack of a father and how that impacted her. And it always seemed like she was trying to get approval from the males in her life. After she gets divorced from her first husband, she goes on to start having some success in an acting career. She is a pinup model, very famous photos of her as a pinup, and it goes on to where she's trying to find work, can't find work, and in the book, she ends up posing nude for $50. And it is implied, this is part of that darker side of Hollywood, that people made millions and millions of dollars off of those photos, and that she only got $50. I know after looking it up that she definitely did pose nude. I don't know if it was for $50, but she definitely posed nude. From there, it starts to go through where she starts to get some breaks in acting. Anyway, she's cast in a couple of different roles. It talks about the death of her agent, which was very impactful in her life. It goes through, and after that, she is in a polyamorous relationship with what's the character's name is called Cass Chaplin and Eddie G. And that, if you look in her history, is implied to be Charlie Chaplin Jr. and Edward G. Robinson. And in the book, it is graphic, their relationship. I don't know how much, again, of that was actually real. It is implied that she had an affair with Charlie Chaplin Jr. if you look through her history, but it's also implied that she had affairs with, a large amount of people. In fact, in the book, Oates actually refers to this in this section, which I can't hold this book right, is can't get enough of Polish sausage. And this book is just a list of all of the men that she had relations with up until 1953 when she was 27 years old. And this says it came from an FBI file labeled Marilyn Monroe. And so it is implied that she had a lot of different relationships with a lot of different men in the book. It goes through some of her movies. It talks about the 7-Year Itch a little bit. It talks about Gentlemen Prefer Blondes. It talks about Some Like It Hot, and talks about her being cast in some of those roles. And it also talks about she doesn't really have success until I believe it's around in the 1950s, and that before that she just struggled. Even though she had jobs, she wasn't paid very well by the actual studios that she was working for at the time. It goes on to document her relationship with Joe DiMaggio. If you're not familiar with Joe DiMaggio, he's a very famous baseball player, and that part of is really true. Marilyn Monroe was married to Joe DiMaggio. In the book, it's a very dark relationship where he is very jealous and also physically abusive to her. It also goes through and talks about when they went to Japan, which was supposed to be a tour for Joe DiMaggio, and Marilyn ends up going to Korea and entertaining troops, and she's wearing a very skin-tight, famous purple dress, and the dress is referred to in here as one of the key reasons why they end up ultimately getting divorced. And so the book documents that just very problematic and troubling time in her life. Again, I don't know how much of that's real. I don't know if Joe DiMaggio was accused of having done that to her. I don't know. I didn't actually look up that particular part of it, but it does document just again how needy she was for male attention. She was bouncing from relationship to relationship, and after she gets divorced from Joe DiMaggio, she ends up going in a relationship or being married to a playwright, and from what I can tell, that is referring to Arthur Miller, who he's only referred to as the playwright in the book. And it goes through, he's considerably older than her in the book, and a troubling relationship there. And she ends up having a miscarriage while married to him in the book. It goes after that section, it really starts to talk about her decline and her use of drugs, her use of sleeping agents, of whatever she can find, and is really, really dark and troubling. The book at the end, when she ends up dying, is where you first get your first JFK references in this, and he is not portrayed in a good light in this book. He is portrayed as a manipulator and as someone who takes advantage of women. The comment in the book is, have I dated her yet? And I don't know, again, how much of that is real. There was a lot of speculation in the real world about whether or not he had her killed because she was starting to cause problems for him. I don't know if that's true or not. The book implies pretty definitively the answer to that, but I don't know. I'm not a conspiracy theorist as far as whether or not there was or was not something. And this is, again, a fictional retelling of this story, of this character. So I really did enjoy this book. You know, it's 700 and something pages long. I started it on June 24th. I finished it on July 6th. And I was surprised at how dark and gritty and dirty this book really was. Your picture of Marilyn Monroe, I thought it was going to be like that, like I said, that romanticized version. And it definitely was not. There is physical abuse. There is, multiple partners. There is abortion. There is miscarriage in this. There is so many things, and drug use, quite a bit of drug use by her and by others in this book. And then ultimately her death, which if you look online or you look up research, she was surrounded by empty pill containers when she died. And yeah, she did not have a very happy ending, I guess. And the book certainly portrays her as deeply troubled, highly needy, lacking in self-confidence a lot, but also much smarter than I think we remember or think of her character, perhaps, in that she had an interest in literature, and that she often made references to things that people were not thinking she would be someone that would talk about that. So I did end up giving it 4 stars. I thought it was really good. My one complaint, yeah, 700 and something pages. That's a lot. And about the 600 page mark, I was ready for the book to be over. And particularly the sections with the playwright were just a little bit long. I think there's probably some sections you could have cut out of this book, but overall I really did like it, and I liked it so much that I ended up getting a biography of Marilyn Monroe, which is this one, which is The Final Years of Marilyn Monroe, the true story. And I'm excited to read this. I'm hoping to be able to read it with Very Literary Carrie. I know she's ordered it. We have not worked out any of the details about that, but that one should be interesting. It also gave me a desire to read more by Joyce Carol Oates, which I'm hoping to pick up her book Breathe, which I heard about on Eric Carl Anderson's channel. So, but with that, we get to go from 284 to... I'm still chuckling because earlier in the video I did that where I said 284, and I think that's just wishful thinking. I was not at 284. I'm at 984. Just a little bit off. So with this, we go from 984 to 983, and it is on my 2021 list, so we will go from 28 to 27. I'm still chuckling about that. Editing me, thank you. But with that, like, comment, subscribe. If you are out there watching this and enjoying this series, please let me know. If you have read this book, I would love to hear that as well. And with that, until next time, everyone, thanks. Bye.